Hey everyone, it's the weekend up here and up north with the Nybergs, and that means chores, chores, chores. I've got a trailer full of equipment, and I've got a chore that is probably a couple of years in the making and probably should have been done a couple of years. So stick around and see what that is and see how this equipment is going to help me accomplish it. All right, welcome back to Up North with the Nybergs. Ed here, and my guess is you probably figured out what this equipment is going to be used for. At least you have a pretty good guess, I'm sure. Maybe not exactly, but I've got 70 acres up here in northern lower Michigan, and we've got quite a bit of vinyl fencing. And just over behind you, and I'll show you here in a little bit, we've got about 5 acres that have this white vinyl fencing on there. And for the most part, it stays pretty clean, especially when it's out in the sun. But underneath the trees, and especially over on the other side of this little building right here, this little red barn, in the past, I had this, this big water tank that I purchased from Tractor Supply. I think it's 75 gallons. And I had a generator, and I used my quad to do it 5 years ago, but I wanted to have something a little bit different that I could kind of keep up for a while, because this project's going to take, I don't know, maybe a couple of weekends anyway to get it accomplished. And so what I wanted was to have sort of a portable power washing setup. And so this is what I came up with. I'm still utilizing the 75 gallon container. It's perfectly great shape. I bought this a couple of years ago. This is the power washer, the Stihl RB200, and this thing works great. In the past, I had an electric power washer that just didn't quite get the job done, so hopefully this will work a little bit better. And so this setup is really pretty interesting. And so, you know what? I'm going to stop right here, turn the camera around, and show you exactly what I have. All right. A little bit closer, you can see that I have my water tank here, which is, I'm guessing it's 75 gallons. It says 60 gallons on the side. Filled up, it's either 70, 75, somewhere in there. I also have the power washer. And then over here, I have the little transfer utility pump. And in the front here, I've got a little generator. And so this generator I picked up at a Farm and Fleet. I think, yeah, it's Blaine's Farm and Fleet up here, but I think it goes by a couple different names across the country. But this was on sale, and I picked it up for about $400. It was $200 off. And I wanted a small one that would fit on this Bannon utility trailer. And this trailer's been great. If you watch my channel, you know that I've had this for a little while now, and I'll link to that. But it's working out really, really well for hauling wood and things like that. But I thought I would use it for having a portable power washing system. And so in the past, I've had an electric power washer, and I bought this a couple of years ago. This is probably the third gas-powered power washer that I've had over the years, and I wanted one that had a little more oomph than the electric one. But in order to use this one, or even electric one if it's a decent size, this tank will last me close to 45 minutes to an hour, believe it or not. And you might be thinking that why do I need the transfer pump, and why do I need the generator? It really comes down to water flow, and I found that this tank, even with the cap open, drawn with utilizing gravity, you can see the opening down there on the tank. It still just doesn't produce enough water to satisfy the need of the power washer, even a small electric one. And so what I've done is I've set up this half horsepower Wayne transfer utility pump. And so this, with the cap open, forces the water down much quicker and feeds the power washer. But in order to utilize this pump, I have to have it plugged in. It's strictly a setup where it has to have electricity, obviously, in order for it to work. And so it works really, really well, I got to tell you. And having this is going to make my job of cleaning these fences much, much quicker. But that's kind of the setup that I went with. It's pretty portable. I can take it anywhere that the quad will go. So if you look up over here, you can kind of see some of that fencing that I have. And inside this fence is roughly, I'm guessing, maybe 5 acres worth of fence. And then up at the very top, see if I can show you up here. Up at the very top, you can see there's a lot of trees, and it just gets nasty. I don't know if I'll go all the way up there. Probably just do, for the most part, what I can do here. And then as I walk over here, around over on the side of the red barn, you can see the fence. And this is where it gets really, really bad. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'll walk over and get you a little bit closer on it. But, you know, I've got a lot of fencing material that has to be cleaned periodically. Otherwise, it just starts to look bad. And over there is roughly 5 acres, and it extends all the way to the behind the barn. And it's a pretty nice corral. And the previous owners who lived here 10 years ago or so utilized this for alpacas. And of course, we don't have any alpacas, and we have no desire to have any alpacas, but that's what they utilized it for. All right, here's a up close of how nasty these get, especially when they're under a pine tree or a maple, as this is, and it really gets nasty under here. And as I walk down here, you can see as I get into more sunlight, you can see that it's not nearly as bad here as it is down there. So the sun certainly helps, but I'm going to do all of this just because I haven't done it in, like I said, 5 years or so. So it certainly needs it. So stick around and watch this task try to get completed. Just as a side note, if you're unfamiliar with these transfer pumps, they're really relatively inexpensive. You can pick them up at Harbor Freight or online. This one is a few years old and has worked great, but like with any of pumps this type, you have to prime it right here. And this one I already did, but you take off this screw here and you just fill it full of water. I tested this out. Everything's working great on it, so we shouldn't have any issues. Okay, you can see how clean that this particular power washer does right here. This is what it looked like. Of course, it was actually worse than that being under the tree, but you can see what a good job that it does. And I'll probably clean this off with the scrub brush very, very carefully because it looks pretty nasty as well. But you know, with this vinyl, as long as you don't have the power washer really on, 15 degree or anything sharper than that, I guess I should say, with the water coming out, you should be fine. We've never had any issue with this vinyl material. As long as you really don't put a lot of pressure on it, it should be fine and handle it quite well, which it has. We've had no issues with it, but boy, look at the difference. And then over here, I haven't done, and I'll work on that. Probably just go down a few underneath these trees here and then work my way down to the road here. But that's the setup at this point, so it's working like a champ. All right, I want to stop right here and just tell you how we did this in the past. My son Kyle and I, completely different setup. Other than the tank, we had that electric power washer and we had a larger generator. And this system, I wanted it to be very portable so that we could easily maneuver in and around the fence and the trees and things like that. And having it on, utilizing the trailer and the quad, I think it can get me in some little tighter areas where I couldn't before with the quad and the bigger setup that I have. So I think this is going to work out much better. But in the past, that power washer wasn't very powerful. In fact, Kyle and I had to use soap, and we scrubbed it with both of us had a brush, and we were scrubbing it. It was definitely worse than it is here, but we had to scrub quite a bit, and we really couldn't do nearly as much as that I can do just by myself. So I'm glad that I made the decision to get this portable setup, it's certainly gonna save us a lot of time, especially, and angst, so to speak. So in any event, if you have any comments or questions on the setup, if you have anything that might improve my setup, I'm certainly all ears. I've gotten so many great tips from all the channel viewers, and I'm really happy for that. Hopefully you got a little bit of value out of this and maybe get to see one of these pieces of equipment that you're looking for in action as well. But as always, please leave your comments, questions below. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing. We don't make any money on the channel. That's not why we're doing it. It's more of trying to have a record of what we're doing up here, and talk and share our experience with like-minded individuals. So if you do find value, consider subscribing and leaving a comment below as well. We really appreciate those, and more importantly, we really appreciate all of the subscribers who leave comments and questions and support the channel. So until the next video, this is Ed with Up North with the Nybergs, and we really appreciate you watching. Thanks.